Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, July 17th. This is Gina McGuire. Over the next few days, we'll have a very similar pattern across the Great Basin with wetter thunderstorms over southern areas. However, on Wednesday and Thursday, these thunderstorms will start to creep back north again with a mix of wet and dry storms in the yellow shaded area, eventually making its way back into western, central, and eastern parts of Nevada, and also over parts of central and northern Utah. The area in the orange up north is continued hot and dry weather after the lightning moved through the last couple of days. We will see much lower relative humidity, hot temperatures, and these hot temperatures will also extend back further south into northern and western Nevada, where temperatures will be exceeding 100 degrees. We'll also have some breezy winds over parts of central and eastern Idaho, but we'll talk about that in later slides. Over the last 24 hours, we had a significant amount of lightning across the eastern two-thirds of the Great Basin. Most concerning, obviously, was the lightning up into Idaho, northern Utah, and northern Nevada. We did see some precipitation with these storms, but they were very fast-moving over northern Nevada and Idaho. Some of these heavier amounts were above about a half-inch of precipitation, but many areas only saw a few hundredths up towards a tenth of an inch of precipitation. We saw a heavy initial attack yesterday across the Great Basin with many new large fires across Idaho and back into northern and northeast Nevada. Looking at the observed precipitation over the last week, most of the precipitation has been concentrated over the southern half of the basin with the thunderstorms and monsoon moisture, with dry conditions up north. This does not consider what happened yesterday, so we had some precip up into Idaho, but again, most of the precipitation over the last week has been further south. Over the last 2 weeks, we've seen above normal precipitation in the south with this monsoon moisture in place, but still well below normal precipitation over the north. Looking at current ERC conditions across the Great Basin, you can see ERCs have declined over the southern areas but continue to rise in some areas over northern Utah, where ERCs are above the 80th to 90th percentile. We did see some drops recently with the weather that moved through yesterday across Idaho and northern Nevada, but still seeing ERCs between the 70th and 90th percentile. Looking at some of our ERC charts, you can see over southern Idaho, these ERCs are actually near or at records for the time of year. Similar conditions over northwest Utah, where we hit records a little bit earlier, and we did see the ERCs decline earlier in July, however, have been continuing to increase and are still well above normal. Satellite loop from this morning shows clearer skies over the western half of the Great Basin. We still have a couple isolated showers and thunderstorms currently moving over eastern Idaho into Wyoming this morning. Otherwise, dry conditions across the Great Basin. We will see thunderstorms redevelop again over the southern areas of the Great Basin underneath this high pressure where the monsoon moisture remains. Otherwise, much drier air will be in place across the northern half of the Great Basin for the next few days. Looking at the weather pattern for later today, and you can see that dry air moving into northern Nevada, northern Utah, and Idaho. We will have some breezy winds also across parts of eastern Idaho today, but the lower relative humidity may allow for continued growth on our large fires across Idaho and northeast Nevada, and also we may start to see some holdovers from the lightning over the last few days. Otherwise, thunderstorms confined to southern areas of the Great Basin still being on the wetter side. We don't have any high risk for today, but with the very hot temperatures, dry conditions in place over the northern half of the Great Basin, there will continue to be concerns on our existing fires and the potential for holdovers. Relative humidity today drops into the low teens over much of the northern half of the Great Basin. And again, these winds will generally be light to moderate across the area, but we will have some breezy northwest winds across central and eastern Idaho, again affecting our ongoing incidents, and also down into northern and northeast Utah. As we move into Wednesday, a very similar pattern, dry air in place with hot temperatures across the north, and any showers and thunderstorms confined to the far south, so our significant fire potential map does not change much as we move into Wednesday. Relative humidity, however, will be dropping, so we'll see many areas in the single digits over the northern half of the Great Basin, along with poor overnight recoveries and very hot temperatures over 100 degrees in the valleys. Therefore, again, significant concerns on our ongoing incidents and the potential for holdovers from the lightning we've seen over the last few days. Similar wind pattern on Wednesday, still northwest winds somewhat breezy across Idaho into northern Utah, and even over northeast Nevada we'll see winds pick up a little bit on Wednesday from what we'll see today, but most gusts between about 20 and 25 miles per hour. These stronger wind gusts over the southern areas of the Great Basin are indicating more outflows from thunderstorms. As we move into Thursday, still dry conditions are mainly confined to Idaho into far northern Nevada, which is where the lowest relative humidity will be. Thunderstorms will start to move further north, especially on Thursday, back into western and central Nevada. And these thunderstorms would be a mix of wet and dry over western Nevada. No high risk for Thursday, but we'll continue to watch this return of thunderstorms. On Thursday, you can still see those single-digit relative humidity, mainly over Idaho into northern Nevada. And the gusty winds with the thunderstorms will be pushing north over southern eastern Nevada into Utah. Looking at the overall forecast amount of precipitation for the next few days, as these thunderstorms trend further north, we'll see some precipitation move back into western and central Nevada, with the much wetter conditions further south. As we go into Friday, thunderstorms spread further north back into southern Idaho. We may see some moisture with these thunderstorms moving over northern Nevada into southern Idaho. However, thunderstorms will likely only be across these areas for one day before dry air moves back through. So we'll continue to watch the return of moisture as the thunderstorms on the northern and western fringe into western Nevada as well, maybe on the drier side or a mix of wet and dry on Friday. So no high risk yet for later in the week, but we'll continue to watch this surge of moisture back up into northern areas that are the most concerning across the Great Basin. On Saturday, after those thunderstorms push north, we see drier air starting to move in from the west, so we'll see a decrease in lightning activity over western and northern areas. So again, we'll be watching that for any potential for high risk with either breezy winds or dry conditions, with thunderstorms over the eastern and southern half of the Great Basin. So we can still see on our significant fire potential map, the brown areas indicating moderate risk of large fire remain over the northern and western half of the basin. As we move into Sunday, thunderstorms return again to western and northern areas for one more day. And then as we go into Monday, these thunderstorms are pushed east again with dry air pushing back into the area. So we will see these periodic returns of moisture followed by dry air over the coming week. Looking at our 7-day precipitation total, again, precipitation mainly in the same areas that we're seeing this week. May see a little bit more as we get into later in the weekend and next week, but mainly confined to the southern half of the basin. Looking at our 8 to 14 day outlook, which takes us into the last week in July, we're still looking at above normal temperatures for most of the region and a return to below normal precipitation. So we will see these drier signatures return, which will keep fire potential high as we go through the month of July. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.